So hi everyone, welcome to the second part of the chapter Work Energy Power. Now in today's video we are going to review or revise two topics. That is, one is chain based concept, that is a small part, and today's large part of the video is based on the topic collision. Okay, we will discuss everything about collision today. So first is chain based concept. Concept means we will learn the concept by solving questions. Okay, now suppose you have a table. Okay, this is the leg of the table, this is the tabletop, and this is the chain. Okay, now suppose mass of the chain is m is the total mass, and L is the total length of the chain. Okay, and this part, hanging part, is of length L. Okay, and if this table level, if this is taken as potential energy equal to 0, means for this level the potential energy is 0, that is the reference level. So it is asked, like, what is the potential energy of this hanging part? Okay, potential energy of the hanging part. So to calculate the potential energy of the hanging part, what we will do, we will take one small part of length dx, and this is x. Okay, it is x below the reference line. So if this segment have mass dm, this segment has mass dm, so what will be the potential energy? Du will be equal to dm g x mgh, that formula, with a minus sign. Why minus sign? Because this is the reference level, this is zero potential energy, so below that potential energy will be negative, above this potential energy will be positive. So we have this thing. Okay, so this is the potential energy of this segment. So potential energy of the entire hanging segment, it will be U is equal to of length dx. So this minus sign. So m by L is the mass per unit length, because m is the total mass, L is the total length, into dx. So this is the mass of this segment of length dx. Okay, so this dm is replaced by m by L dx, g x. Okay, now this varies from 0 to L, so this is 0 to L. So if you simplify this, you get minus mg L square by twice L. Okay, so this is the potential energy of this hanging part. Okay, now suppose this part is hanging, and I am holding this chain. Okay, I am holding this chain at this particular point. So this part is hanging. Okay, now if I leave this chain, so it will start coming in the forward direction, and finally it will leave the table. Okay, now suppose it is asked, like, when this part leaves the table, okay, the complete chain falls down and this part leaves the table. So what is the velocity of this end? What is the velocity of this end? Okay, so for that we have to use work energy theorem. Okay, now in this case, see, when the chain is in initial position, this is the initial potential energy. Okay, now when the entire chain comes to this position, what will be the potential energy? Potential energy U will be equal to minus mgl by 2. So how did I get this U is equal to minus mgl by 2? See, when if I replace this small l by capital L, because when the entire chain comes over the edge, this length will be capital L. Okay, so if this small l is replaced by capital L, then we get this minus mgl by 2. Okay, that is one way. Another way is, see, this is a chain of length L. Now I can assume this total mass of the chain to be concentrated at the center of the chain. So center of the chain means mass is located at this particular point. This length is how much? This length is L by 2. Mass is m. So potential energy will be, mass is capital M. So potential energy will be minus mg L by 2. So that is another way of expressing this potential energy. Okay. So this is the initial potential energy. This is the final potential energy. Okay. So there is a change in potential energy, and because of this, the chain is gaining kinetic energy. So half mv square, this is the kinetic energy of the chain, final kinetic energy of the chain, this is equal to u initial minus u final. Okay, so if you substitute the value of u initial and u final, from that you can get the value of this velocity of the chain. Okay, so you can calculate and check whether you are getting this value. V is equal to square root of g L minus L square by L. Okay, this is the velocity as this end leaves the table. Okay, now next moving to the topic of collision. Okay, now collision, it is basically of three types. One is elastic collision, inelastic collision, and perfectly inelastic collision. Perfectly inelastic collision. Perfectly inelastic collision. Now, when I say elastic collision, see, elastic collision and perfectly elastic collision are same. Okay, I can call this as perfectly elastic also. Perfectly elastic. This is a theoretically concept. It means practically no collisions are perfectly elastic. Okay, even for this ideal gas, kinetic theory gases, we have assumed that for ideal gas, the collisions among molecules were perfectly elastic. Okay, this is the ideal concept. But whatever this, but elastic or perfectly elastic collision, they are same. But inelastic and perfectly inelastic collision, they are two different types of collision. They are not same collision. Okay. Now, what is the similarity between all the three types of collision? Like when collision occurs, that is because of mutual interaction between the colliding particles. Mutual interaction of the colliding particles. That means there is no external force involved. Now, since there is no external force involved, that means momentum will be conserved. So, whatever may be the type of collision, momentum is conserved. Okay. P is constant. P is constant. P means momentum. P is constant. What do you mean by P is constant? P constant or P conserved is means total momentum before collision will be equal to total momentum after collision. Okay. So this is one condition. Elastic collision or perfectly elastic collision is the only collision where kinetic energy is also conserved. That is, there is no loss of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy before collision is equal to kinetic energy after collision. Okay. In inelastic collision, kinetic energy is lost. Kinetic energy is lost. In perfectly inelastic collision also, kinetic energy is lost. Kinetic energy is lost. Okay. So in these two types of collision, the kinetic energy is lost. In elastic collision, kinetic energy is conserved. Okay. Now, if you see these two collisions, it appears that till now both are showing same kind of properties. Okay. So how to differentiate these two collisions? So for that we need to understand a term called coefficient of restitution, denoted by the symbol E. Coefficient of restitution. Now what is this? Now suppose this is a horizontal surface. This is M1 moving with velocity U1. This is M2 moving with velocity U2. They are undergoing collisions. Okay, they are undergoing collision, and after collision, M1 and M2, they are moving with velocity V1 and V2. V1 and V2. Then this coefficient of restitution, it is the ratio of relative velocity of separation to relative velocity of approach. Okay. Relative velocity of separation to relative velocity of approach. Relative velocity of approach. Coefficient of restitution, it is the ratio of relative velocity of separation to relative velocity of approach. Okay, so if you see these quantities, this coefficient of restitution, it will be E is equal to relative velocity of separation means this is getting separated from this one. So V2 minus V1 divided by U1 minus U2. Okay, U1 minus U2. So this is coefficient of restitution. Now you have to keep this in mind that when you are calculating something related to coefficient of restitution, this sign of velocity must be considered. Means if you are taking velocity in this direction as positive, that means if any body or particle is moving in the opposite direction, its velocity will be negative. Okay, So that you have to consider. Sign must be considered. Okay. Achha. Now this is coefficient of restitution. Now for perfectly elastic collision or elastic collision, this coefficient of restitution is 1. Coefficient of restitution is 1. For inelastic collision, coefficient of restitution is less than 1. Okay. And for perfectly inelastic collision, coefficient of restitution is 0. Coefficient of restitution is 0. Now coefficient of restitution is 0, it implies if E is equal to 0, that means V1 is equal to V2. So that means in perfectly inelastic collision, the colliding bodies, they will stick together, and after collision they will move with a common velocity. Because what is V1 and V2? V1 and V2 are the velocities after collision. Now if V1 is equal to V2, so that means they are moving together. So during collision, the colliding bodies, they will come in contact, and after collision they will move with a common velocity. Okay, so that is for perfectly inelastic collision. Okay, for perfectly elastic collision, now this type of collision in one dimension, this is collision in one dimension. Okay, this type of collision is called head-on collision. Head-on collision. Okay, so now here in this case, if you use the condition of conservation of momentum, conservation of kinetic energy, okay, then you can get the value of this velocities V1 and V2 after collision. Then I'm directly giving you the formula. V1, it is equal to M1 minus M2 U1 divided by M1 plus M2 plus twice M2 U2 divided by M1 plus M2. Okay, this is the velocity of this M1 after collision. Okay, similarly V2, it is equal to M2 minus M1 U2 divided by M1 plus M2 plus twice M1 U1 divided by M1 plus M2. This formula is a very important formula. You must remember this formula. ठीक है, ये formula याद रखना है, बहुत important formula है collision में. This is one of the fundamental formula जो बहुत जगह पे काम में आएगा. Okay. In the language of collision, see this M1 is striking M2. Okay, M1 is striking M2. So in the language of collision, this M1, it is called projectile. M1 is called projectile and M2 is called target, because this projectile is hitting the target. Okay, so M1 is called the projectile and M2 is called the target. Okay, so now if for head-on collision, if projectile and target, they have same mass. Okay, so that is M1 is equal to M2 is equal to M. Okay, M1 is equal to M2 is equal to M. So if you substitute those values over here, what do I get? I get V1 is equal to U2 and V2 is equal to U1. So that means if the colliding bodies, they have same mass, then they will interchange their velocities. V1 is equal to U2. See, V1 is equal to U2 and V2 is equal to U1. That means the colliding bodies, they have interchanged their velocities, provided they have same mass. The next case, when a projectile, very massive projectile hits a very small target. Okay, so I can take this M2 to be almost equal to 0. Why I am taking M2 is equal to 0? Because M1 is far greater than M2. Okay, so then what will happen? See, M2 equal to 0, it implies this quantity goes to 0. So V1, it will be equal to how much? V1 is equal to M2 is 0. M1, this is V1 is equal to U1. Okay, V1 is equal to U1. What happens to V2? V2 is equal to M2 is 0. So this is M1, this is minus U2 plus twice U1. Okay, so this is the velocity of the two objects after collision, provided L2 is equal to 0. That means a massive projectile hits a very small target. Okay, similarly you can calculate, like if a light projectile hits a very heavy target. Light projectile hits a very heavy target. So in that case, we take M1 is equal to 0. Okay, so this M1 equal to 0 in this equation. So this V1 becomes minus U1 plus twice U2, and V2 it becomes m1 is 0, so this term goes v2 is equal to u2. Okay, so this is the velocities v1 and v2 after collision, provided light projectile, very light projectile hits a very massive target. Okay, so based on this concept, you can try one question. Like suppose this is a horizontal track, okay, and suppose this is a car, okay, this is a car and it is moving with velocity u1 is equal to 120 km per hour, 120 km per hour, and the mass m1 it is equal to 10.3 kg. Okay, and suppose here you have a cyclist. Okay, the cyclist is going in this direction, and the cyclist has a velocity u2 is equal to 10 km per hour, 10 km per hour, and the mass of the cyclist m2 is equal to 60 kg. Okay, so suppose this car hits the cyclist. So obviously this is a case where the projectile is a massive projectile, hits a very light target. Okay, because this m2 can be taken to be 0 because here m2 is 60 kg, which is quite small as compared to 1000 kg. Okay, so you have to use the condition where the massive projectile hits a light target. Okay, so you try to solve this question and verify it whether you are getting v1 is equal to 120 km per hour and v2 is equal to 230 km per hour. Okay, we should verify this. Okay, now this is one example, okay, which you should try. Now next is transfer of kinetic energy. Transfer of kinetic energy during collision. Transfer of kinetic energy during collision. Okay, so suppose this projectile before collision it is having a kinetic energy half m1 u1 square. Okay, after collision its kinetic energy is half m1 v1 square. Like it is like, suppose projectile initially before collision it is having energy of 100 joule. Okay, after collision it is having energy of say 20 joule. So that means 80 joule of energy is transferred. So how do you get 80 joule of energy? 100 minus 20. So here projectile before kinetic energy is, before collision kinetic energy is half m1 u1 square. After collision kinetic energy is half m1 v1 square. So that means, so for this projectile before collision kinetic energy is half m1 u1 square. After collision it is half m1 v1 square. So what is the amount that is transferred? Delta Ke. So that is Ke initial minus Ke final. So that is half m1 u1 square minus v1 square. Okay, this is the amount of kinetic energy that is transferred. Now if it is asked like fraction of kinetic energy transferred, fraction of kinetic energy transferred, so it will be delta Ke divided by Ke initial, that is the initial kinetic energy. Okay, so that is like half m1 u1 square minus v1 square divided by half m1 u1 square. Okay, so this gets cancelled, we get half v1 square by u1 square. Okay, acha. Now we have got v1 as m1 minus m2 u1 divided by m1 plus m2 plus twice m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2. See, this equation is very useful. Here also it is required. Like this is the velocity of the this projectile after collision. Okay, so assuming say this mass m2 is at rest, so m2 for u2 is equal to 0. Target is initially at rest. Okay, this we are assuming. So in that case, this v1 by u1 becomes m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2. v1 by u1 becomes this. Here we have requirement of v1 square by u1 square. So if you substitute this over here, what do I get? 1 minus m1 minus m2 square by m1 plus m2 square. Okay, so this is equal to how much? This is equal to 4 m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2 square. Okay, so this is the fraction of kinetic energy that is transferred. Okay, now I can rearrange this as 4 m1 m2 divided by m1 minus m2 square plus 4 m1 m2. Okay, I can rewrite this as like this. So this is the fraction of kinetic energy that is transferred. Okay, so what can we infer from this result? This is delta Ke by Ke initial. So this is the fraction of kinetic energy transferred. Now as you can see, this fraction of kinetic energy transferred, it is inversely proportional to the difference of the mass of the projectile and the target. So greater is the difference, less will be the transfer of kinetic energy. Greater is the difference, less will be the transfer of kinetic energy. And transfer of kinetic energy will be maximum if m1 is equal to m2. Okay, so transfer of kinetic energy will be maximum if mass of the projectile it is equal to mass of the target. Okay, now let us consider the case of perfectly elastic oblique collision. Till now we have seen head-on collision. Okay, so perfectly elastic oblique collision. Perfectly elastic oblique collision. Okay, so suppose this is m2 moving with velocity u2, this is m1 moving with velocity u1, and they undergo collision. After collision, this m1 moves with velocity v1, m2 moves with velocity v2. Suppose this angle is theta, this angle is phi. Okay, so if I have to use the principle of conservation of momentum, so here I have to see this here, the bodies are moving in two dimensions, so I have to apply conservation of momentum in along x-axis separately, along y-axis separately. Okay, so along x-axis, if I see along x-axis, before collision, the momentum was m1 u1 plus m2 u2. After collision, the momentum will be momentum component along this direction. This is m1 v1, so this will be m1 v1 cos theta plus m2 v2 cos phi. This is theta, this is phi. Okay, now similarly along y-axis, here this is x-axis, this is y-axis. So along y-axis, so initially nothing is moving in the vertical direction, so it is 0 is equal to, if I take the upward momentum as positive, so this will have a momentum in this direction, this m2 v2 will have a momentum in the downward direction, so it will be taken as negative. So I have m1 v1 sin theta minus m1 v1 sin phi. Okay, now this is conservation of momentum. Now conservation of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is a scalar quantity, so we need not worry about all these theta and phi directions. So before collision, kinetic energy is half m1 u1 square plus half m2 u2 square. And after collision, what will be the kinetic energy? Half m1 v1 square plus half m2 v2 square. Okay, this is from conservation of kinetic energy. So there are a lot of variables here. So for solving such cases, you will be given some conditions. Okay, now suppose one special condition is given, like m1 is equal to m2 is equal to m. That is, projectile and target, they have same mass, and u2 is equal to 0. So that is, the target is at rest. Okay, so if you apply those conditions over here in these equations, you will get theta plus phi is equal to pi by 2. Okay, so that means if the colliding particles, they have identical mass and the collision is oblique, then, and the target is initially at rest, then after collision, the projectile and target, they will move at 90 degree. Theta plus phi is equal to pi by 2. Okay, this is a very interesting result. Okay. Next, let us see head-on inelastic collision. Head-on inelastic collision. Okay, means two particles, they are moving along a straight line. After collision, they are also moving along the straight line, but the collision is inelastic. Okay, and E is the coefficient of restitution. E is the coefficient of restitution. So in this case, I am writing the formula for velocities after collision. V1 will be equal to m1 minus em2 u1 divided by m1 plus m2 plus 1 plus E m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2. Okay. Similarly, V2, this is coefficient of restitution. V2 is equal to m2 minus em1 u2 divided by m1 plus m2 plus 1 plus E m1 u1 divided by m1 plus m2. Okay. So this is the velocity after collision. And how to check whether this equation is correct or not? See, if already we have written the equation for head-on elastic collision in one dimension. So if you substitute for elastic collision, E is equal to 1. So if you substitute E equal to 1, you will get that result. Okay. And if you substitute E is equal to 0, if you substitute E equal to 0, it becomes perfectly inelastic collision. Perfectly inelastic collision. Okay. So if you substitute E equal to 0 over here, you will get V1 equal to V2 is equal to M1 U1 plus M2 U2 divided by M1 plus M2. So again showing the result that the colliding bodies during collision they will stick together, and after collision they will move with a common velocity. You can check this over here. Okay. If you substitute E equal to 0 in these two equations, you will get V1 equal to V2 equal to this result. Okay. You can verify it very well. Okay. This is the equation of velocity of the projectile and the target after collision for inelastic collision. Okay. Now suppose we have a special case wherein suppose this is M1 and this is M2. M1 is moving with velocity u1 and u2 it is at rest. Suppose u2 is equal to 0. Okay. And they undergo collision. And after collision, this is moving with velocity v1, this is moving with velocity v2. Okay, now let us simplify the case. Now suppose they have identical mass. This is moving with velocity u1, this mass is at rest. After collision, this is moving with velocity v1, this is moving with velocity v2. Okay, so in this case, if you suppose the collision is inelastic collision, so in that case, if you find the ratio of v1 by v2, v1 by v2, v1 is the velocity of the projectile, v2 is the velocity of the target. So if you substitute these values over here, you will get 1 minus E divided by 1 plus E. Okay, you can verify it. This is also one important result. So next expression for loss of kinetic energy. So as we know, kinetic energy is conserved only in elastic collision. So in all other types of collision, there is a loss of kinetic energy. So for inelastic collision, the loss of kinetic energy delta Ke, it is m1 m2 divided by 2 times m1 plus m2 1 minus e square u1 minus u2 whole square. Okay, so if you know the initial velocity, you can calculate the loss of kinetic energy. Okay, now for perfectly inelastic collision, this E value it is equal to 0. So if you substitute E equal to 0, you will get for perfectly inelastic collision. For perfectly elastic collision, E is equal to 1. So if you substitute E is equal to 1, this quantity becomes equal to 0. Okay. So this is the expression for loss of kinetic energy. Okay. Next topic is rebonding of ball from ground. Okay. Now suppose this is the ground. This height h0, this ball is dropped. Okay, and it undergoes inelastic collision. So it rises, it will not rise to the same height because there will be loss of kinetic energy. Then again it bounces. So the height gradually decreases. Okay, now suppose it is dropped initially from height h0. Okay, so after, this is the first bounce. So after first bounce, the height is h1. After second bounce, it is h2, and so on. It strikes the ground with velocity v0. Okay, so this is v0. This second, after first bounce, it is striking the ground with velocity v1. This is v2, and so on. Okay, suppose this is time t naught, then this is time t1, this is time t2, and so on. Okay, so first this, when it is dropped from height h naught, so this velocity v naught, it will be equal to 2g h naught. Okay, then it bounces. See, if it is striking this point with velocity v1, so that means it is bouncing up with velocity v1, correct? So this velocity of projection is equal to the velocity with which the ball will return back to the ground. So this v1, it will be equal to ev naught. v1 is equal to ev naught, where e is the coefficient of restitution. Okay, so this is e, v naught is this quantity, so this is e times 2g h naught. This is after first bounce. Okay, now similarly h1 is the height acquired after this first bounce, and it is going upward with velocity v1. So h1 will be equal to v1 square by twice g. Okay, but what is v1 square? v1 square is this quantity, so this is equal to e square 2g h naught by 2g. So 2g cancels, so h1 is equal to e square h naught. Okay, so in general I can write after nth bounce hn, the height will be hn equal to e times e power twice n h naught, where n is the number of bounce. So after n bounce, this will be the height. Okay, now similarly velocity from this I can write n bounce, it will be e power n v naught, e power n v naught. Okay, this is velocity after n bounce, this is height acquired after n bounce. Okay, now suppose this ball, it travels like this and it keeps bouncing and finally it will stop. Okay, so total distance traveled before it stops bouncing, total distance traveled before it stops bouncing, that will be capital H, it is equal to h naught 1 plus e square by 1 minus e square. Okay, so this is the total distance traveled before it stops bouncing. Okay, similarly the total time before it stops bouncing, total time capital T, it will be equal to 1 plus e divided by 1 minus e square root of twice h naught by g. This is the total time before it stops bouncing. Okay, so this is some of the important formula related to bouncing of ball. Questions have been asked directly based on formula. Okay, now next let us see the case of perfectly inelastic collision. Okay, perfectly inelastic collision. Okay, so now suppose this body m1 and m2, so they are moving with velocity u1 and u2, and they are undergoing collision. Okay, and after collision they will move together because this is a perfectly inelastic collision. Okay, so this is m1 m2 and they are moving with some velocity v. Okay, now if initially they were moving in the same direction, in this case velocity after collision v will be equal to m1 u1 plus m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2. This will be the velocity after collision, and the loss in kinetic energy delta k will be m1 m2 divided by 2 times m1 plus m2 u1 minus u2 square whole square. This will be the expression for loss in kinetic energy. Now in case suppose the collision is like this, suppose m1 is moving in this direction u1 and m2 it is moving in this direction velocity u2, they are undergoing collision. Okay, and the collision is perfectly inelastic, so in that case v will be equal to m1 u1 minus m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2. Okay, and depending upon which body is having greater momentum, the final velocity will be in that direction. Like for example, m1 u1 is greater than m2 u2, so that means this quantity will be positive, so these two masses will move in this direction. In case m1 u1 is less than this, so this overall this quantity will be negative, so after collision they will move in this direction. Okay, and what about loss of kinetic energy? Loss of kinetic energy expression will be same for both cases, whether they are moving in same direction or opposite direction. K is equal to m1 m2 divided by 2 times m1 plus m2 u1 minus u2 square. Okay, loss of kinetic energy expression will be same. It is just that the velocity after collision will have a negative sign in case the particles were moving in opposite direction before collision. Okay, so these were some of the concepts related to collisions. Okay, next let us discuss a few important concepts related to this relation kinetic energy and momentum. Now, questions have been asked more frequently in NEET from this topic. Okay, see, kinetic energy, it is half mv square. So I can write this as m square v square by twice m. So this is equal to p square by twice m. Okay, so kinetic energy is we have p square by twice m. Okay, so if we see the relation between kinetic energy and mass, kinetic energy and mass, momentum is suppose constant. So if you see this relation between kinetic energy and mass, so obviously this kinetic energy, it is inversely proportional to mass. So if we draw a graph between kinetic energy and mass, so graph will be like this. Okay. Now if we see the relation between kinetic energy and v square, so kinetic energy, it is equal to half mv square. So kinetic energy is proportional to v square. Okay, so that is equation of parabola. So we have this kinetic energy and v, so graph will be like this. Okay, kinetic energy is always positive. Okay, so this is regarding graph. Okay, now another thing is, which is quite commonly asked, is like if there is a percentage change in the increase in kinetic energy, what is the percentage change in momentum, or vice versa. Okay, so based on percentage change. Okay, now if suppose the percentage change is say 5% or smaller, 5% or less than that. Okay, so in that case, see, kinetic energy, it is equal to p square by twice m. So delta ke by ke, so that is fractional change in kinetic energy, it will be equal to 2 times delta p by t. Okay, so if percentage change is asked, like it is delta ke by ke into 100, so that is equal to 2 delta p by t into 100. Okay, this is how you have to proceed, provided this is less than 5%. Okay, now suppose it is greater than 5%, percentage change is greater than 5%. Okay, then if you use this method, then you may not get the correct answer. So in that case, what you need to do, delta k by k, delta kinetic energy. So this is a fractional change in kinetic energy. So that is equal to p final square minus p initial square divided by p initial square. Okay, so this is how you have to proceed. Okay, p final square minus p initial square, p is the momentum, divided by, now if it is percentage change, so this multiplied by 100, this multiplied by 100. Okay, so that is how you need to proceed. Okay, now in case the opposite of this is asked, like in momentum, you have to find a change in momentum if there is a change in kinetic energy. So in that case, this will be how much? P is equal to twice m ek. Okay, so delta p by p, it will be equal to 1 by 2 delta k by k. Okay, now similarly here also, if there is a change in kinetic energy, you are asked to find the change in momentum. So in that case, delta p by p is equal to delta, this is ke final minus ke initial square root divided by k initial. This is how you need to calculate. And again, percentage change is asked. So this multiplied by 100, this multiplied by 100. Okay. So this is for greater than 5% and this is for 5% or less than 5%.